Loudon. So we only hit, according to the data, 225,000 people.
All right, guys, we'll rock and roll on the Wednesday edition of Real Talk with Keith Smith. We appreciate everybody joining us for the discussion, sharing the show, liking the show. Keith Smith's back from a trip with the grandbabies over the weekend.
Yeah, we were up in Philly, actually, King of Prussia, which is right outside of Philly. Our oldest daughter is doing a shoot up there, and unfortunately they needed to attend the funeral, and we picked up babysitting duties, which was a lot of fun.
We'll have a fantastic discussion on a letter Keith wrote, an open letter on social media to the National Association of Realtors.
Oh, wow.
We'll talk HUD median income. What'd you find with Asheville?
I did Austin.
Oh, what's Austin? Even higher?
No, 92,500.
92. What's Asheville, North Carolina, HUD median income?
While you're working on that, I will find that.
Join us for the discussion. Ask questions. We will talk a number of
I
topics.
had to think. North Carolina.
Asheville, North Carolina. That's right. Asheville's fantastic. J-Dubs, you check the feeds. Give us a thumbs up when those are good to go. Things are looking fairly good on my end, which is nice. I'll give you a heads up if I see anything. It's a dynamic show where you, the viewer and listener, can shape the discussion on the show, which we're excited about. What number is this for you, Keith?
609.
Number 609. Wow, that's absolutely incredible. Judah Wickhauer's got his mic ready to rock and roll, which is always impressive. Thank you, Judah. We appreciate you, J-Dubs. We can rock and roll, Judah Wickhauer, when you are ready.
Oh, wow.
What's Asheville before we start?
86,000.
Wow, even less.
We're not even close. It is
Charlottesville's
insane.
quite expensive right here to live. We talked about this yesterday. We got some good feedback that I want to share on your show.
Sure.
From Deep Throat.
Well, I wanted to break down the 12 top AMIs in our county, in our states, to see where we were at. But I'll let you do the intro and I'll shut up.
Absolutely. J-Dubs, we can rock and roll when you're ready. We're in your hands.
Quiet on the set.
Good Wednesday morning, guys. I'm Jerry Miller, and thank you kindly for joining us on Real Talk with Keith Smith. A pleasure to connect with you on a show presented by Yes Realty Partners. Find them online at yesrealtypartners.com. A name you can trust, Yes Realty Partners, a firm founded by Keith and Jonas Smith. Today's program is dynamic, where you, the viewer and listener, can join us with the discussion and shape what we're talking about. Ask questions, challenge us. Tell us where we need to go or what we're missing. Today's program is going to be an impactful one as we talk the recently released HUD median income numbers for the Charlottesville metropolitan area. This data is one that we've all seen coming, and we all know that the cost of living for the Charlottesville MSA, which is Albemarle, Fluvanna, Greene, Nelson, and the city of Charlottesville, is getting more costly. It's more expensive to live here. Keith will pick it apart like Thanksgiving turkey. He will compare and contrast the median income to other jurisdictions and ask you some questions. He's also got some data on how much a realtor truly makes with doing each deals. And believe it or not, Charlottesville is on a ranking for another fantastic place to live. As you can see, Real Talk with Keith Smith is locked and loaded with quite a bit of information. Judah's our director and producer. If you can go to the studio camera and then the two-shot, and welcome our star. Good Wednesday morning, Keith Smith.
Wow. I've got to really perform now, huh?
20 hours a week will help you craft your skill.
There you go. Good morning, everybody. So the closest one, just doing a quick little research. So Judah, if you wouldn't mind, put up slide number 1. So we're going to kind of kick off the show. We've been talking about the AMIs being released for a while. It happens in April. It happened in April. So I created a quick little slide taking a look at the state of Virginia and who is the highest area median income and working your way down to the top 12. We are number 2 in the state. Yay.
Okay.
Right, we've become number 2 on it.
Number 1 is which jurisdiction?
Is Arlington.
Okay.
But it's important to note, Arlington includes a super large area. So, as you noted in your intro, ours includes basically 5 jurisdictions, right? Louisa is excluded from that. It's actually in a different MS.
Which probably, no shade on Louisa, would lower the median income
to $99,000
Yeah.
if you take a look at my chart.
Right.
$99,000 on it. But it's important to note Arlington because it's important to note apples to apples and pears to pears. So we're 5 jurisdictions. Arlington's includes, and I'm going to read them, District of Columbia, D.C., Calvert County, Maryland, Charles County, Maryland, Frederick County, Maryland, Montgomery County, Maryland, Prince George County, Maryland, Arlington County, Clark County, Virginia, Fairfax County, Virginia, Fauquier County, Virginia, Loudoun, Prince William County, Spotsylvania, Stafford, Alexandria City, Fairfax City, Falls Church City, Fredericksburg City, Manassas City, and Manassas Park City, which I didn't really realize there was a Manassas Park. So we have roughly 225,000 people. Just Arlington County alone exceeds the number of people. So the volume of people that are in that, and it's at $154,700, but I think it's a little skewed. You kind of, if you were to pick that apart, that's a huge swath of area. So anyway, we're number 2. Yay. We're number 1 in the state to move to, apparently, as per Move Buddha, and I posted that this morning. As you were doing your intro, I was trying to find similar areas to our Charlottesville MSA that might have it. And Raleigh is the one that's the closest. That's the triangle that has Wake in it, so forth and so on. That's 122,300. So we're at 124,200. They're at 122,300. So we're even beating out the triangle of North Carolina.
We're talking area median income. The Charlottesville metropolitan area, the Charlottesville MSA, number 2 in the Commonwealth of Virginia, 124,200. Last year's number was 123,300, so an increase of 900 year over year. This is something we talked about yesterday on the talk show. Here's a pushback from the macro economist Deep Throat. He says, macro investor Deep Throat, he says, gentlemen, be very careful with this. This is median family income. This does not include individuals or student household incomes or non-families. This is strictly family households, which pushes the number upward. It excludes singletons and youngins with roommates. He also highlights year-over-year changes are not as important as looking at a number over a data set. Yeah. And he said in 2019, for example, the number for the Charlottesville MSA was 89,000 per household. And it's now up to 124,200.
He's 100% right.
That's a 5-year span.
Correct, and there was a huge increase, and I think we covered this in some previous shows about that jump. Why it's so important for a real estate show is this predicates a lot of the loan packages that are available that are HUD backed, particularly on the affordable side of the house, right? So these programs, and I know I'm a little familiar about them because of my involvement with the land trust, are all wrapped around this area median income, and he's 100% right. It's a household number, right? So if 2 folks are in it, this is the amount of money that they make. But the jump is unbelievable. And I've mentioned this in shows before. I been sitting on panels with other folks from different states. When I tell folks that, from Miami, what our AMI is, it just blows their mind. I mean, we looked at it as we were going in the run-in. Even Austin is at the $86,000 mark.
Austin, Texas. What'd you have for Asheville?
Asheville, I got to look that one back up for you, buddy. I didn't write that one down in full transparency.
Carly Wagner's got commentary.
Hey,
we'll get to in a matter of
Carly,
moments.
it was great to talk to you. I hope I helped.
I will mention this on air. Ms. Wagner says, and Carly, we appreciate you watching the program, all our shows. How much?
83,500.
83,500, the median income for Asheville, North Carolina.
Mm-hmm.
So the closest comparison you found is the Raleigh MSA, Raleigh, North Carolina.
Doing it live, it was the closest I could find.
And that number gave us
122,300.
122,300, so pretty darn close to Charlottesville, still less than Charlottesville. Carly Wagner says, how much longer until our area will be in the higher limits for jumbo loans, considering the high cost of living? I cannot believe our jumbo loan cutoff is still at the low cutoff, especially for Charlottesville City and Albemarle County. Albemarle County, what's the jumbo loan limit? 766,500.
To her point, it's south to 800.
Yeah,
right?
Charlottesville City and Albemarle County, I believe it's, and Carly, if you can check this, confirm this for me, I think it's 76,500 or 76,550.
Our point is it's south to 800, and it probably should be north of that. It would be interesting to look at what the jumbo is for Arlington, and somebody do the math between the 154 and the 124 percentage-wise, and see if there's a percentage difference.
I would imagine the
that.
jumbo loan limit for Arlington is well north of $1 million.
You know what? It could be. I'd have to look that up, or if
Albemarle County, I'm pretty sure, if memory serves, it's 766,500. Arlington, I've got to imagine it's over $1 million, if higher. I would say Arlington's over $1.1 million, $1.2 million in that neighborhood. Neil Williamson, the president of the Free Enterprise Forum, watching the program. I'm going to get to his comment here in a matter of moments. Viewers and listeners, we're doing this on the fly. Anyone can offer that perspective on air to make us better would be greatly appreciated. We're talking jumbo loan limits for Albemarle and Arlington to compare and contrast. I'm almost positive it's 766,550 for Albemarle.
so you're 100% right.
Yeah, because I looked at this the other day.
Yeah, Arlington jumbo loan limit
Over $1,100,000, it's got to be.
We're darn close. $1,089,300.
Okay, and then Albemarle County.
I did not get that far.
I would imagine. I think it's 777.
What's
766,500. Neil, we'll get to your comments here in a matter of moments. I will mention this on air.
Albemarle is 27. Excuse me, my dyslexia is kicking in. 7,206,000.
726,000.
Yeah, thank you. And it's interesting. Bedford's the same number.
Seems low for Albemarle.
Bedford County is the same number.
And are those 2024 numbers? I think those were 2023 numbers.
April of 2024. Yep.
Okay.
They are conforming numbers. On
Okay. Neil Williamson watching the program.
Hey, Neil.
Due to population distribution, I believe roughly half of the Virginia House of Delegates are from Arlington MSA. For what it's worth, Fairfax County only has a population of 1,139,000
That's right.
people. Neil
Yeah.
Williamson, you're good people.
I
right
did
there.
that on the fly yesterday, and I just wanted to pick which jurisdiction of the many that is in Arlington, or the Washington, Arlington, Alexandria, D.C., Virginia, Maryland, HUD Metro, FMR area is the proper terminology of it. So it's 154,700. So we are consistently number 2. But we're number 1 according to Move Buddha.
I think those numbers are old. And Carly's confirmed. I think they're closer to what I said. Arlington is...
it could be the Google I did. It's showing
Arlington,
Virginia Loans.
high cost area is 1,149,825. That's what I remember.
Okay.
And then the Charlottesville Albemarle 766,550. The point she's making is $750,000 home in Charlottesville, Albemarle is not really a luxury home these days. That's sort of an average home for a family with several kids. I would say a $750,000 home in Charlottesville and Albemarle County is certainly average.
100% right. 1,100,000. I picked an old one.
Yeah,
1,100,000.
those were last year's numbers. Yeah.
Yeah.
Albemarle County is 776.
766, 550.
Yeah.
Thanks, guys.
That's a fantastic point that she's making right there. When does the Charlottesville MSA jump into the Arlington stratosphere?
Well, if you take a look at what I'm looking at right now, Bath County is the same as Albemarle County. So Bath County, out in western end of the state, actually has the same jumbo loan. So I don't know enough about this. This is a loan officer question. How it's determined, I don't think it's based on HUD. It must be based on something else. I don't really know, but you're 100% right. It becomes difficult from a practitioner's perspective, right? You know, what that means is if you're buying $1 million plus, that means you've got to bring more cash to the table.
Multiple realtors on this program that you've hosted, I mean, a dozen plus have said $1 million is no longer the luxury market.
Oh yeah,
a dozen plus
in our marketplace. I would not disagree. I would not disagree with that. Now, you know, we can have the whole conversation about who it excludes and all that kind of great stuff. But you're 100% right. You know, it's $1 million plus is probably not luxury. I think Bath County, it would definitively be luxury, which I don't, to the point that I think Carly's trying to make, is these limits maybe. But again, if we can tag a loan officer, maybe they can do a better job of explaining how they're established. I honestly don't know. I can talk about the HUD numbers and why they're important for affordable housing, because it sets the maximum income limits based on 80% and so forth and so on.
Maggie Gunnels of the Gunnels Group, welcome to the show.
Hey,
we
Maggie,
appreciate you, Maggie Gunnels, watching the program. Carly makes another good point, is making the program better. She should be welcome back. Just suggestions. Keith Smith handles the booking for Real Talk with Keith Smith. Ray Cadell, another one.
Spoke to her yesterday.
That should be welcome back. She says the problem with this MSA data is it includes Greene County and Fluvanna. Charlottesville City and Albemarle County have increased in cost far faster. That's a very good point from Wagner as well.
Yeah, so the argument...
She's basically saying Greene and Fluvanna counties are lowering the median income. They're skewing the data, and it would be much higher if it was strictly Charlottesville City and Albemarle County. That's what she's saying.
And so I get this question from my Fluvanna County counterparts all the time. Well, how is Fluvanna County really $124,000, right?
And get that one sheeter back on screen, Judah.
And the answer
Please.
is, where do people work at UVA? Sheet number one, please. Slide number one. Where do the people work that work at UVA or work at these high dollar jobs? They live in Fluvanna, they live in Greene, so their income comes with them out that way. That's when I have the chats with some of the folks over here that kind of put this stuff together, and if you take an opportunity to really look in it, there's a methodology, there's like multiple pages of the methodology that they use, but at a high level, right, it's you know, people that are living in Fluvanna County that are making whatever the amount of money they're working, they travel. Just the trip I took in this morning to go to UVA for my tests this morning at 7:30 in the morning, Route 53 was packed with traffic going in one direction, and that was towards Charlottesville, not coming away from Charlottesville.
Dylan's Rule, thank you for liking the program over there. Viewers and listeners, let us know your thoughts. Mr. Blair, I would love to hear your thoughts on this. Randy O'Neill, thank you kindly for watching the program. Supervisor Rutherford, que pasa, Chico? Bill McChesney, hello and welcome to the program. Rob Neal, welcome to the program. Fantastic photographer,
So
Brandon Harrop, welcome to the show.
So let's talk about part of why we're here is because everybody wants to be here. A part of why this number is this number. And
Perfect segue.
I posted.
That was nicely done,
You
Smith.
think after 609 shows, I figured this out.
Fantastic
So if you have an opportunity, Google movebuddha.com. It's basically an app that helps people move, and it talks about tracking and moving, and they have these different matrix, which I won't go in, but top cities everyone wants to move to into every state in 2024. Nationwide, the Charlottesville, they say Charlottesville, but when you read it, it's the actual region. It's what we're talking about for this MSA, these five, or it's really Louisa is part of it, and it's also the other side of the hill. We're number 17 in the country for people moving. So out of however number of regions around the United States, we're number 17. In the state of Virginia, when people want to move to the state of Virginia, the Charlottesville region is number 1. And that just isn't going away. We've been talking about this for 609 shows. Another segue. So, it's this freight train. I think I mentioned this on a show some years ago, or many shows. This folks moving here, this lack of inventory is this aircraft carrier that's on full speed, right? And if you put that in neutral, that thing is going to move for miles before it stops. So we're a long way from this matrix to change. I think, to be honest with you, I think I mentioned this on the show. I guessed we were going to be up between 125 and 126, so I was a little off. We're at 124. I knew we were going up, but the Deep Throats comment, that's only a small jump in this year. But if you take a look over the 5 years,
he's got other 5-year spans to compare it to.
The 5-year gain.
He said this on yesterday's program. This is fantastic. I love when the viewers and listeners shape the show. He said this. He goes, in 2019, the Charlottesville MSA median income was $89,000. It's $124,200. So we're talking a jump of 35 and change, 35K and change. He puts it in perspective, that 5-year period of time, to Richmond, Virginia. And Richmond went from 86K, basically on par to Charlottesville in 2019, to 110.
No, Richmond's at 110.
110.
Mm-hmm.
So he's talking the jump was less sharp when compared to Charlottesville's jump.
And you're going, so I can tell you, because I know the Richmond market well, because we've been in it for a long time, you're going to start seeing that AMI jumping much higher in the next couple of years. Number 5 place in the country to move to, not according to this thing, but for jobs and people to work. And if you spend any time in Richmond lately, it's a way different place than it was five years ago. I can speak. I mean, we just helped our daughter and son-in-law buy. There was a house that sold across the street, similar home, for substantially more than they bought it, and this is less than a year.
Nice.
Went on the market in 8 hours. Went on the market and sold in eight hours. I want to take a look at the percentage difference between 89 and 24.
Viewers and listeners, let us know your thoughts. We'll relay them live on the program today on Real Talk with Keith Smith. We're talking population distribution. We're talking another
28% increase.
We're talking another outlet calling Charlottesville the number 1 place to live in the Commonwealth. A 28% increase when, Keith?
Well, that's from the 5-year span between 89 and so 89,000 and 124,000.
Randy O'Neill has a topic that's off what we're talking now, but I'll relay it on air. He says, will mortgages go to 40 years or more with financing? I think both Keith and I say we certainly hope not.
Oh my God, no, that would be a huge disaster. So, we've talked about this a long time ago. I can't see how a 40-year mortgage is going to help. It's like, would you?
It's a 10-year car payment.
Well, it's like cars now, right?
Yeah.
You can stretch them out a little bit longer because interest, and I think the theory is since interest rates are a little bit higher than normal, let's
it makes
spread
the
out.
payment more manageable.
The amortization does.
You're paying ridiculous amounts of interest.
So even if there was a product there, my suggestion would always be to a buyer that they kind of have to be a sophisticated buyer, because the only way that's really going to work for you is to do the latte factor and start buying a few less of what I buy every day and pay it towards your principal to drive that 40-year or 30-year down, which is a great strategy regardless of your length of loan on your amortization table. Always pay a little bit extra towards the principal. I mean, we'll maybe talk about this a little bit later, but during the time, to Neil's, plug Neil's term, during the time of great unpleasantness, you know, even though we didn't cause it, we needed to apologize to a lot of people, and it impacted a lot of lives, and we did that. So part of fixing that from our perspective, we refinanced our house. I had my house paid off. We refinanced my house so we can pull some cash out to pay the plumber, to pay the electrician, to pay all this stuff. Even though we didn't cause this, we did the right thing to take care of that. So we re-signed in 2010 a brand new 30-year mortgage.
I think this is the first time you've told this on the show.
I've never told this on the
Yeah.
show. Well, I'm trying to tie it to this 40-year and this 30-year, and we religiously made extra. Let me rephrase that. Yona made religiously.
We love Yona Smith.
Made payments to that, and we're almost paid off.
That's great.
So you know, it's, you know, if this ever come up, if you do your 30 and you're first time home buyer, or you know, just getting into the home, and even if the interest rates are not what you want, you're only paying yourself. We, in 12 years, now have all this equity sitting in our home. But we made the tough decisions and made the tough payments to it, you know. But now I can drink more coffee.
He's having coffee. He had a coffee today from, what's the name of the place? Lone Light.
No. Since I
This was Lone Light you got it from.
no, sir.
Oh.
Since I was at UVA in a MRI machine this morning, I got coffee close to UVA.
Oh, fantastic. He's enjoying a cafe automismo. So, Keith, highlight some of the other ones that jumped out at you on this slide one.
So I just, thank you, Judah.
Louisa clearly is going to go up.
Well, Louise is a different MSA, right?
No, right. But with the investment of Amazon, and as people get pushed further away from Charlottesville and Albemarle, Louise is going to feel the effect that Fluvanna's felt.
So when I created this last night, what I wanted to do is I wanted to take a look at, you know, where the top 12 were, right? And where did UVA, where did Virginia or Charlottesville fit in that Virginia MSA setup? So, you know, we've been talking about this for the longest time. You know, we're currently sitting in the second highest cost of living in the state of Virginia, next to Northern Virginia. You know, I was even looking at Virginia Beach. I was thinking Virginia Beach might be a little bit higher. You know, I was looking at Culpeper, Richmond, Blacksburg, Louisa, Augusta, which is the other side of the mountain, Harrisonburg, Roanoke, Buckingham, and Lynchburg. And, you know, there's a huge difference between places like Lynchburg and Roanoke and us. Some of it is not quite double, but awfully close to it. So I felt this was important. We covered this every year. We've never actually did a side-by-side analysis with other MSAs, metropolitan statistical areas. So I thought this would be an interesting data point for our listeners and viewers.
100%. Keith Smith bringing the ammunition today on Real Talk with Keith Smith.
I don't know about that.
You brought the ammunition with an open letter to the National Association of Realtors this morning.
Yeah. So, I
a very pointed letter.
Yeah, and those who want to read it can go on my Facebook feed and do it. I've kind of talked that we just shared a little bit about. I shared a little bit of how. And Yona really doesn't like when I talk about this, but I think this is important to describe to people that are listening and watching. In some way, Yona and I have been through this before, right? You know, we were developers and builders, and during the time of great unpleasantness, which was not our fault, right? We didn't cause this. Keith didn't go out and buy a brand new yacht. I bought a small one, but bought a brand new yacht, right? We didn't. You know, we did everything we were supposed to do, ran our businesses exactly the way we're supposed to run them. And unfortunately, because of bad actors, we got caught up in that. And if anybody knows anything about small to medium builders, you develop very personal relationships with the people you work with. You know, we personally develop relationship with drywall people, painters, contractors, vendors on that. And then we went from doing very well to almost retiring to zero overnight. We didn't cause this problem. And this is the tenet of this letter. But we apologized to everybody. We did a mea culpa. We said, look, I'm not pointing fingers. We did this. This is impacting you and your family and you and your life. We apologize for that. We were abundantly transparent. Everybody knew exactly what was going on. Whoever would listen to me was honest with everybody, paid as many people as I could pay, refinanced my house. We sold off we got rid of everything we could get rid of to raise as much cash as I could to take care of the drywall guy or take care of him and his family. We fell short, right? There's $17 million and we only had this much. We fell short. But we were overly transparent. Everybody knew where we were. I looked people in the face and said, I apologize, I'm sorry. So that's the tenet of the letter, right? Look, was it NAR's fault? Probably not. There's a bunch of bad actors that caused it. Was it the fault of NAR, the local associations, and us as professionals not to call this out earlier? Yeah, absolutely. And in order to get better...
Now, what do you mean? The transparency piece is what you mean?
Transparency, right?
Yeah.
Us non-bad actors that were always transparent with our clients, always, hey, this is how much money we make, this is how we make it. We're independent contractors. We were always transparent. A lot of people weren't. And that's ultimately what happened here. Plus, which is not in my letter, DOJ, which, by the way, NAR just lost that appeal.
I saw.
DOJ's intent, and if you read all the documents from 2019, it wants to either dismantle this whole association thing.
I would say the entire industry.
No, it's not. See, so that's where I think you and I diverge a little bit. It's not the industry, because the industry is controlled by state legislature.
Okay.
Right? So the association, whatever.
I mean, you got the president talking about this.
Yeah, but he doesn't know what he's talking about. But that's nothing against a politics end of it. He made a false statement that commissions were now negotiable. They were always negotiable. I've always negotiated my commissions. Do it. Have always done it. Always will do it. And it's interesting. I see how many eggs certain people get paid going up, not going down. Because those who can demonstrate their value proposition and who are transparent and who can communicate that in a clear and concise way will get it. I mean, since this has gone down, we've get phone calls, help me, I want to do this. And they're calling us or other folks, because
you got a proven track record.
They're seeking trusted advisors.
Yeah.
The 4 doctors I saw today for my little medical problem I've got going on were all trusted advisors, all experts in their fields. And I'm blessed that VA pays for it, but whatever it was, we paid for it. My portion of it. But back to the letter, this is time for a mea culpa for those of us who are not Catholic and we're not.
I thought the letter was fantastic.
Well, writing is not my skill.
We don't have to. Okay.
Talking, I need to get this out. Talking I'm probably a little better on talking. I would be dishonest and non-transparent to say if AI didn't help me with this, it did. But it is in my heart what I believe in it. Let's be transparent. Let's own it. Let's own it publicly. The fact that we're a month away and they haven't sat there and did mea culpa, maxima culpa. I apologize. Please ask for forgiveness.
Why hasn't NAR done that? Why hasn't the National Association of Realtors done that?
So I don't know, to be honest with you. And if I was to give an answer, it would be pure speculation.
Okay.
It may be just a corporate mentality that they have, because it is a corporation at the end of the day. Right? I don't know the answer to that. All I know is a lot of people are confused. The general public's confused. It should not rely on Keith Smith or people like me to have this conversation. It should be at the highest of levels. Now, they're throwing things out. Hey, realtors are great. Use them. That's BS. I'm sorry. We effed up. Let's be transparent about it, and let's move forward. And one of the things I put in my letter, and I've said this on the show before, it's going to have to happen at the state level because I don't think it's ever going to happen the other way. But I'm deeply concerned about dual agency.
Talk to us about dual agency. Viewers and listeners, get ready for this one.
Yeah, so at the moment, again, like I said earlier, who really controls what we do for a living is not some association. It's the state. It's the agency laws. There are very specific laws that mandate how we do business, right? And one of them is dual agency. Well, dual agency is, in a very simple term, I, as a real estate agent, a real estate profession, a licensed real estate agent, is representing Jerry and Judah. Jerry's the seller, Judah's the buyer. So I am now doing dual representation. There's a reason why lawyers don't do this. It's a very slippery slope. So I cannot say or do anything that is going to adversely impact you or adversely impact you, or say or do something that gives you an advantage over Judah, or Judah over an advantage of that. It has to be so straight down the line, and that line is razor thin. You can go over one way or the other. Our shop does not allow dual agency. We will never allow dual agency. There's a lot of shops in the Charlottesville area that do that.
Can I ask you a question?
No.
You ready for this one?
No, you can't ask me a question.
Angela Morbely watching the program from Inspired
said no.
Homes.
He's gonna
She's
ask
a
me a
custom
question.
home builder. She and her husband DJ do fantastic work.
Up in Culpeper, right?
In Culpeper. She says,
$110,400.
she says, facts, Keith Smith, facts. Giving you props right now. Culpeper, median income for 2024, $110,400.
$400.
I understand the concept of dual agency when one realtor is representing a buyer and a seller in the same transaction. Good Lord, that's a slippery slope of significant proportions. How about a firm having one principal
So it's
or
called
having
gotcha. It's called designated agency.
designated agency?
That I don't have a problem with because
How slippery is that slope?
it isn't because, and it's very clear and concise because
Even though they could be
So
next door in the same office to each other.
Sure. Yona's
Okay.
representing you. I'm representing Judah, right? You think I'm ever going to say or do anything to jeopardize my license? I would never do that in a million years. I'm also a professional, right?
I mean, we know the license jeopardization is. I mean, there's very little enforcement.
No, you are incorrect. So you're thinking
We've talked about this on previous Real Talks.
but you're thinking of the association's ethics and stuff like that.
I'm talking about DPOR.
People can report to DPOR.
Yeah,
and
but
they have
the red tape to go through DPOR and have something actually happen.
well, the red tape for anything is
I mean,
is
let's
ridiculous.
be real here.
The red tape. The reason why houses are 25% more expensive is because of effing red tape, which should be green tape.
I totally get
Right,
that.
so-
But let's be real though.
Yeah, but there is a pathway there, and I'm telling you what you're going to see. I may be wrong. What you're going to see on these dual agency things. You think the lawsuits are bad now? Wait till you find out that I did something a little nefarious, and you didn't make an extra $10,000, or you spent an extra $10,000 that you didn't have to say. You think the lawsuits are going to roll against me? It is just a horrible liability, horrible path to take. Designated agency, I have zero problem with because of the professionalism. And what happens is the broker of the agency is the let's say the mediator. So everything funnels through the broker. So in the state of Virginia, I, as a regular real estate license, I can't conduct business unless I'm attached to a brokerage. So there are steps in it for doing it. But
Any states that don't have that attachment to a broker?
I
that you can think of?
I wouldn't know the answer to that. I would, if there are any, I would find it very hard to believe. I don't really know, to be honest with you.
Do you think that would ever change?
I can say this, though, for sure. I know multiple states' legislatures do not allow dual agency. Florida, I think, is one of them. So that's what I'm trying to say. That whole dual agency, you're going to start, I think at some point,
Even in the business brokerage world, which is a world that I'm in, you don't see dual agency. I mean, you see some, but
if you do,
I mean, I just did a deal here where I very much encourage one of the two parties involved in the deal to go get their own representation. In fact, I insisted upon it.
yeah. You know why?
Well, because I wanted
Now
to.
you can
Because I wanted to represent my client who first contracted with me to the best of my ability, and I could not do that if I also was representing the other side.
We're doing one of our resales for the land trust. I put it on the market yesterday on it. So we're helping a wonderful woman who's bought a land trust home a couple of years ago, move up the ladder of home ownership. She's taking a great job out of state. We're excited to help her. But because of this, I get all these Zillow phone calls. I get all this stuff. What is the first question I ask when somebody calls me?
Do you have realtor representation?
Are you working with a real estate agent?
Yeah.
If so, who? And could you please ask them to call me? And if the answer is no, then I said, great, would you like some references? I'd be more than happy to give you some references. There are a bunch of real estate agents in our community that have been on one side.
And if they say they want to represent themselves, you make them sign a document.
Absolutely. Well, they're gonna sign that document no matter what. But there are a bunch of real estate agents. Greg Slater is one, and Emily Dooley's another. There's a bunch of other agents that have been on the other side of land trust transactions. These are people that I would suggest that you call because you need representation in this process.
Comments coming in for you. This one from Rob. He says this. Rob Neal, food for thought. A 40-year fixed product could be a safer item than a 5-year ARM. Allows a refinance for lower rates when makes sense for the market and the individual rather than forced to refi in a box of 60 months.
Totally.
I don't like a 40-year product, but 40-year would give more nimbleness than a 5-year product from Rob Neal, who, Rob, I believe works in the private equity space.
Again, this is, I'm not aware of any 40-year product on the horizon. It may be. I think that we've got a better chance of seeing those interest rates dropping towards the tail end of this year and the beginning of next year, which could potentially offset that. But I think the conversation's kind of, I may be wrong, I'm assuming the conversation is wrapped around this jumbo number that we were talking about, because if you're buying $1 million house and you only can get a loan up to 7 something, then you're coming up with the difference between whatever the purchase price and that is. Now there's ways to stack different loan products, and again, I'm smart enough to refer out to some really good loan officers to help clients. So I don't want to go down that slippery slope of it, but there are different ways that you can stack loans to make that work.
Mark K. Brown watching the program. What was going through your mind when you wrote that letter to the National Association of Realtors, and what has the feedback been? And viewers and listeners.
I don't know.
When you walked into the studio.
I hit the send button when I was sitting in the truck before I did that. So I don't know.
I respect it. I respect your willingness to be on the front lines. I respect your willingness to take arrows in the chest for reasons of doing things the right way. Because oftentimes, you're taught this by your parents. This is a lesson that I'm passing on to our kids. The right way is not always the easy way.
Oh, it's always the hard way. It's never the easy way.
Right.
I can tell you of 60 some odd years on the earth. There's never,
The right way is often the hard way.
There's always two paths, right? If you take the easy way, it's probably not going to end as well as you take the hard way. The hard way is going to be hard and brutal. I think this has been in my head since the release of the announcement. And,
Logan Wells Colelo, hello.
Hey, Logan. The story I tell about us, I speak on stage on this around the country, right? And I just felt that I had an obligation at 609 shows to the viewers and listeners and everybody to kind of share my thoughts on it. I think at the end of the day, we're all going to be so much better on the other side of this, but the time between now and then requires transparency, right? Requires mea culpas, right? Requires, okay, this is our value proposition. And, and I'll just say this. I tossed this out in 2022 at, when I was part of the association at the board level. And look, I know government and stuff moves slow, but none of this should be a shock to anybody that this happened.
You've been talking about this for a while.
I've been talking about this since 2022.
Yeah.
Been really talking about it since I spoke at the Reese Media CEO event when I was sitting down with CEOs for a cocktail.
And they're like, this was coming up.
I went, oh. But look, we had Bill Tucker on the other day. From a practical perspective, okay, we're decoupled. How the hell is this going to work, right? And we're a month into it, and maybe I'm missing emails, and that could be very well a possibility.
You've seen no change.
I don't know what's going on, right? And that's a transparency thing. Now, maybe there's stuff that's going on that I'm not reading, but
you read it all, dude.
I kind of dig into it, and it could be, I stink at emails, so maybe I missed an email or two on it. But it should be very public, very transparent on that. It's just the agents that call me the ex-bill is like, well, how am I going to get paid? Well, the only way you're going to get paid is it has to be in the contract. I don't care what anybody tells you. That's what it's going to have to be. It's going to be like a commercial real estate transaction. I can say this publicly. I'm working with 4 attorneys now to generate an addendum that we're going to put to our contracts that clearly stipulates who gets paid, how they get paid, until VR, whoever's figuring this out, figures it out, because I don't want to get caught in July trying to figure out what everybody else trying to figure it out. You asked why I did this. How many other Marines do you know other than me?
A few.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's the first thing it's the ethos they teach you. It's literally beaten into you. When there's a vacuum of leadership, you take it. Now, do I have all the right answers? Am I smart enough to do this? No. I happen to have a microphone and a couple of cameras. I have an obligation. Guys, day one, everybody should have said, man, we're sorry this happened to everybody. We're in a team to get it going. Apologize to the public, regardless of fault. Be transparent and communicate, communicate until people are tired of hearing from you. And we will get better on the other side of this. To be frank with you, the people that are really good at this job are going to do freaking awesome. The people that are not probably won't. If you can't adapt and overcome, 2nd Marine Corps terminology, thing that they beat into you, adapt and overcome, you're going to be left in the dust on this.
Keith Smith on fire today. Wednesday edition of Real Talk.
It's the coffee, and it's being stuck in the MRI for an hour. So.
I think you're doing a great job. He's going to be even more transparent, and he's going to let the community know what a real estate team actually makes on a transaction when you take out fees, marketing expenses, allocations for taxes. This is about as transparent as it gets. I think this is a fantastic conversation here.
Yeah, so...
You ready for this one, Judah? Tell them what slides to put on screen. First, set the stage. Set the table.
Yeah, so which one we want to start with, the buy side or the list side? Let's start with the list side.
Okay, list side. Get ready and giddy up here, community.
So, Yona and I look at what we do maybe different than some other agents. So let's just get to the bottom line here. We are independent contractors. Keith, Yona, whoever, they own their own business. They've always should have been thinking about it and running their real estate business as a business. Though we're attached, we happen to be ownership of a brokerage, but most agents are attached to a broker, right? But you need to know how to run your business. So what we're fortunate enough to do is, after building hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of houses, we've always created since 1987 profit and loss statements per build and per real estate transaction. Prior to 2000, it was like the old school, like an actual ledger book, right? After 2000, we moved to QuickBooks. I now have it on my phone. if I talk to a client about about trying to find them houses, whatever I spend,
put in the time.
I put the time in.
Yeah.
And it immediately goes to my QuickBooks and immediately creates a P&L. So what we're going to show you is 2 P&Ls, profit and loss statements, on 2 sales that we closed in March. They both happen to be $500,000 sales, one on the list side, one on the buy side. And what I wanted to articulate in that, people...
You only get this stuff, guys, from Real Talk with Keith Smith. This is fantastic content right here.
So
Fantastic content.
So back to the terminology of bad actors in the letter, right?
His letter to NAR, National Association
I
of
was
Realtors.
never, well, state and local associations also.
Yeah, you tagged Charlottesville Area Association
I
of
did.
Realtors.
Look, I lost my train of thought. Let me get me back again. So we're going to talk a little bit about how that kind of works and how we break that down. The reason I wanted to do this is certain agents or certain people in my industry would say, look at me, I just sold a $500,000 house in 13 seconds. Well, the public, doing this show, I've learned one very important thing. You know who's way smarter than me? Everybody who watches and listens to this show. Way, 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 way smarter than I'll ever be. And you can't BS them, right? Which is difficult for me because I like my mouth is moving, right? But in any event, so all that person sees, the general public sees, is this big 3 eggs or 2 eggs or 2.5 eggs, whatever it is, this big number, and go, holy shit, that's a lot of money. I've been cursing a lot on Real Talk.
No, it's good.
Right, on that. So what I wanted to do is I wanted to break down on a P&L what you actually make, what we actually make on that. So if you do slide number 3, I hope that was a decent setup.
That was a great setup. Breaking down a listing agent's compensation, a case study, slide 3, J-Dubs.
Okay,
It's on screen. Good stuff, Judah.
so thank you, Judah. So we're going to go clockwise.
Okay?
So it's amazing. I have conversations with other real estate agents sometime around this year, the beginning of the year and this time, about taxes, right? You've got to pay the government. So 25%, so that this was $11,875 commission that went out. 25% of that immediately goes into an account to pay Uncle Sam. And by the way, that's a little low. But we've been doing this so long, we've got exactly to the penny how much we owe the government.
Tax man.
The second one, so that's 25%. There's listing and marketing expenses. So to break that down a little bit, that's hiring Brandon Harrop to take pictures, flyers, all the stuff that's required to put the listing on there. Then there's this little thing called administration, overhead, fees, costs, right? So, we pay our own health insurance. Okay, technically I don't because the VA pays it. Thank you, folks, paying your taxes. Do that. But Yona pays that. We pay car insurances, fuel. We have people that we pay for marketing, for accountants, so forth and so on. So every business, in order to put a key in a door, has business expenses. So if nothing happens, that 33% is constantly rolling. Then in this particular case, there's a seller credit, right? So what we did during the process of closing, there was a home inspection item that the seller needed some help on, so we contributed, Yona and I contributed to solving this home inspection issues so we can move forward to closing. To make a long story short, what we gross netted after all our expenses on this transaction was $2,300, which was 19% of the total amount. We put 45 hours in that. Now, it's important to understand that hourly rate of $51 an hour is actually divided by 2 because that's 2 people.
Keith and Yona.
So we're working for $25 an hour on this thing. So do the math, how many transactions you actually got to make to pay your 33% overhead and stuff like that. I don't know if I'm doing a decent job.
You're doing a fantastic job.
Okay.
Keep going.
So let's go to the buyer side because that's been the big hubla about it. I think everybody kind of understands the value that agents bring to the listing side.
Slide number 4, Judah.
Let's talk about the buyer side. So same sales, same gross commission income. So just so everybody understand what gross commission income is, that's after our splits, right? So that's what Yes Business Management, we operate under a corporate structure, right? We pay ourselves payroll, so forth and so on. We operate our Yona and I's real estate business as exactly as you would operate a company on it. Again, 25% taxes come out. There's zero marketing.
Sarah Hill Buchensky adds, and the agent pays most of these expenses before ever getting a paycheck.
And that's where I'm going to get to on this, because, the question is why wouldn't you, to her, why wouldn't you want to use a real estate agent? We take all this risk. Back to the listing side, right, or even the buyer side, we can go through this whole thing and it falls apart at closing, and guess who's paying for all this stuff? We're paying for that. It comes out
Cost
of our
of doing
pocket.
business.
I had somebody ask me the other day, would you consider, like I do for my commercial work, a retainer in an hour? I said, absolutely, I'd love to do it. I would be more than happy to do it.
We talked about that.
But
folks, be careful of hourly rates when it comes to selling a residential house, because you would be shocked of how much you're paying out of pocket. Shocked, because the hours these guys are putting in, if they're charging, you use the number $49.
No.
Well, this is the net number.
This is the net. It's
Yeah.
If you want me, it's 150
You're going to
bucks.
do three extras.
It's 150 bucks an hour.
Right.
Plus a retainer.
Yeah.
Plus a retainer. What seller or buyer in their right mind
None.
would do that,
None
right?
would
So, we're getting...
Well, I don't say none.
No.
Commercial would do that.
So I do that on my commercial transactions,
Yeah,
100%.
commercial
right.
would do that.
But
But that's
we're-
a different
But we're
animal.
talking millions and
Completely
millions
different
and
animal,
millions of
course.
dollars.
Not even comparable.
It's a whole different thing.
Yeah.
But, if you could
Business transactions, we do it that way.
This is residential retail. And the reason I wanted to talk about this was, not only on all this stuff that we're talking about right now, I can speak to Yona and I's case. We got 35 years of experience in this business. I just sat in a tube with 4 doctors. We're not doctors.
Yeah.
I wasn't together in the tube. I was in the tube, and they were looking at me.
Thank you.
They were looking at me. When they went through the brain portion, they went, I don't know what that
Stay
meant.
focused. Stay focused.
Yeah.
You're on point here. Stay
But-
focused.
Thank you. So, who in their right mind would do that? And well, we're overpaid. We're over that. Or you listen to our president who says that housing prices are going to go down because of this, and that is pure, unadulterated BS. It's just not going to happen. I wrote this letter. I think NAR, CAR, the state associations, I think as an industry, we need to apologize for not being transparent. Be transparent, right? And be direct and honest. You never, ever, 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 ever can go wrong by doing that. Now, I may be upsetting a lot of people talking about this.
That's what I appreciate here.
at-
You're taking some courage and some chutzpah, because when you're first to market, you often get the arrows in the chest here.
Sure.
And some folks in the industry are like, why do this?
Well-
And the reason you're doing this is because it's your character.
So I watched The Wizard of Oz the other night because it was on and I got nothing else better to do. And that's
Was
not
this
true.
on Turner Classic Movies?
How did you know? Because that's what I watch.
I know you. TCM.
Right. So I'm going to relate it to this movie. Right. There's 2 things I want to say about this. And did we talk about slide 4 before I do that? Did we do that? Did we
We could talk about slide 4. We should get that in.
Yeah. So the bottom line is, Judah will do slide floor. The same thing. You've got to pay Uncle Sam. You got to pay your expenses, right? The difference with that is in today's market, the amount of time that Sarah takes to help a buyer buy is off the charts. And if you're honest with yourself and honest with your business and track your time, you're working for about $25 an hour. Some deals happen faster, some deals happen longer. I've been in the business long enough that it took us years to help people buy a house. It took us years to help people sell a house. We're in this unicorn thing that everybody thinks that everything is simple, and it's not. It's long, drawn out. You got to be part therapist, part business person. It takes a lot of work. lot of work on that. But back to Wizard of Oz. The curtain's pulled back,
Okay.
and the wizard's a fat guy, right?
You're doing a great job today.
And thank you. And we've, like Dorothy, we always had the power to change this, the silver. I thought of this in the middle of the night when I was watching this. The ruby slippers, she's always had them. She didn't know how to use them, right? So let's be transparent. Let's use our slippers and change this. Back to, wow, $11,000 is a big money and what we get paid to do. Have you ever heard the story of the kind of grizzly mechanic that got called because this engine wouldn't start? And he walks up with his little bag of tools, lifts the hood, pulls out a hammer and taps on the engine, and the damn thing starts right away. Closes the hood, writes a $500 invoice and gives it to the guy and turns around and walks away. And the guy goes, holy schmoly, there's $500 is a ridiculous amount of money. He goes, no problem. Takes the bill back, scratches it out, hammer, $1, knowing where to knock, $499. So, you're buying all this years of experience and professionalism, and you're not even, we're taking the risk for it, and you're capitalizing it. Did we F up by not telling everybody this long before now? Yeah, we sure did. We as an industry should have been in front of this. And do something about dual agency. It's a freaking killer. It's going to make this look like a picnic in Central Park.
Keith Smith,
What time is it?
fantastic program. Going out like a
Oh, look at
stanza
that.
on the high note. I know.
Look at that.
Excellent work today.
Timed that just right.
Give him
Look
a
at
promo on Friday's show.
that. Yeah, people that are way smarter than me. We're going to have Woody on here to talk about this.
Woody Fincham watching Fincham and Associates.
Thank you. Talk about this from a appraiser's perspective. I don't know. Haven't spoken to him since then. He was away in a conference, so maybe he has some new information how the appraisal industry is going to look at this.
Okay.
And we got Candace Vanderlinder joining us, one of our fine fellow YRP members, to talk about it from her perspective.
Candace Vanderlyn in the house on Friday, and Woody Fincham in the house on Friday on Real Talk with Keith Smith. A show online at realtalkwithkeithsmith.com. Click the Partners tab of Real Talk with Keith Smith and find the folks that you can trust in housing and in real estate.
Trusted advisors.
Trusted advisors that Keith has personally vetted. My friend,
As long as we are
A+
hitting
work today.
Thank you. As long as we're hitting number 1, number 2, and all these, whatever it is, these national things, our AMI is just going to keep on going up.
100%. You keep getting attention like this, it's going to go up, up, up. And the University of Virginia expanding more is going to make it go up.
I got to tell you though, hats off to UVA. I'm very fortunate that I'm in the VA system, and I get to go to UVA, and we're navigating some struggles here, and it's unbelievable. I just want to give hats off, props to the UVA medical system. It's freaking awesome. Not getting the answers I want, but they're awesome.
Keith Smith, Judah Wickower, Jerry Miller. Real Talk with Keith Smith online at realtalkwithkeithsmith.com. We will see you Friday at 10:15 a.m. with Woody Fincham and Candace Verlin.
And bells on.
So long, everybody. Keith,
Thank you.
fantastic.
Thank you.
Fantastic.